My name is Dr. Kevin Pecca. I wanted to make a podcast that exposes people to the true miracles of life and health. All the guests on this show have been specially picked because they bring something positive to the world. They have some of the most amazing and inspiring life stories. These people have a passion for living, healing, and leaving the world better than they found it. There is something inside these people that made them keep fighting through all the tough times, even when people told them it was not possible. They carried on and made their lives beautiful again. And now they are sharing their experiences with the world. This is the Expect Miracles podcast. Enjoy the show. This episode is about the importance of finding out who you are as a person, getting comfortable in your own skin, knowing what you like and don't like, following your dreams and taking massive action to make it happen. And most importantly, doing all of this for yourself because you love to do it. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. The most valuable gift you have to offer this world is yourself, being an authentic person. And Sam is one of the most authentic people I've ever met. So please welcome Samantha. So Sam, what's your recording name?
Samantha Leah.
Samantha Leah. There we go. Where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey. I was born in New York. Grew up in New Jersey.
How'd you like growing up in New Jersey?
I liked it. It was a small town, and I liked that vibe. I always had an infatuation with California, so that led me to go to college out in California, but I enjoyed New Jersey while I was there.
Where'd you go to school out in California?
Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara.
Oh man, that must have been a good time.
It was.
So, were you into music as a kid? Did you start at a young age, or?
Yes. My parents joke around and say that I was born singing before I talked. I've been singing since I was 2 years old. I've also been writing since I was very young, 6, 7 years old.
Did you know what you were doing, though? Did you know, I'm writing songs, or you were just kind of writing?
No, I just always liked to write. It wasn't always songs either. It was a lot of music, but it was just stories in general. I was always a creative writer, so I always enjoyed writing. Was it poetry, or was it stories or short stories or something? Or a lot of short stories, a lot of poetry, and a lot of lyrics. Mm-hmm. And so you grew up singing. Did you play any instruments? I play the piano a little bit. That's about it. Nice. Mm-hmm. And then you said your dad was a pretty good bass player, right? My father's a bass player, so he was always playing music. So he must have been a huge influence on what you're doing now then, right? My father and I used to write music together. We made a song when we lived in our first house in New Jersey called 70 Gladiola Blues. It was a blues song. And really? Yeah, we made that when I was 7. So wow. We had his own little studio in our basement back then. And yeah, it was all old school technology. That's awesome. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Is Marty featured on the new album or what? Actually, he's not, but it's not finished yet. But I've done something that when I was living back in New Jersey, he actually connected his guitar and his bass, and I wrote piano chords and a looping hook. And it's actually really good, but it's not finished yet. So who were some of your main inspirations growing up musically? That's a hard question, and I always wonder what I will say when I'm asked that question, because I have a lot of influences, but no one specifically. My father listened to a lot of hard rock, and even though that obviously influenced me to love music, I don't do hard rock. I love jazz music. I grew up listening to hip-hop music, and the funny thing is that is what influences me the most. I'd say my first influence is Ludacris. That's a funny thing. That's a funny thing to say, but I swear to God, when I was 9 years old, I started listening to him, and I just was obsessed with hip-hop music from then on. That's great. And it's because I had a cousin who was listening to all that type of music, and then I heard one of these songs, which now that I think about the fact that I was listening to that at that age is hilarious, especially the song specifically. But yeah, it started with Ludacris. So were you making music in high school, or were you just kind of having fun with it? What were you doing? I was auditioning I was doing a lot of acting stuff before high school. In high school, I was in a performing arts program. Okay. And I did not enjoy it because it leaned more towards musical theater. Yeah. And I felt like I didn't have any creative control over what I wanted to do, because it was basically you get a script or you get a Broadway tune, which is great. Right. But for me, I like creating. Yeah, it wasn't me. And I didn't know it at the time, and it made me feel very, very, very bad. And what do you mean it made you feel bad? Not being able to I didn't fit in, and I felt like disconnected from what everyone else liked to do, and I didn't know why. And I was in a really bad place, and I didn't know if I should quit or not because I felt bad quitting, because I loved to sing and all of that, but it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I winded up quitting.
What year was this in high school?
So sophomore year was really, really bad downfall year. I was just not happy because I was in that program for 2 years at that point. And then I believe I quit the end of sophomore year, and then junior year and senior year, I wasn't in it any longer.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you find something else you like to do for those last 2 years, or you just kind of hung out and just put your head down and got through high school?
Yeah, I'd say I was kind of lost throughout high school. Like, I don't think that was shown on the outside. I got back into listening to music, and now that I think back on it, all of that time listening to all that music in college, even though that's not what I was studying, I was studying music. So even though I wasn't writing in college like I am now, or just pursuing music in general, I was listening to music every second that I could possibly, because it's what made me feel good.
Right.
So now I look back on it and I'm like, wow, how did I come up with that? And I'm like, well, because I was studying it without realizing it.
Right.
Yeah.
It just like consumed, like without knowing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you didn't really do music at all during college then either?
Not really. I started producing a little. I got Ableton when I was, I think, my third year, maybe second year of college. I started producing a little bit, but I couldn't really get that into it. I would do it more on my breaks because it was very consuming, and I didn't know at that time that I wouldn't wind up pursuing what I went to school for, because I was like in that mindset of, okay, well, this is life. I go to school for something that I don't know if I want to do, but I'm still going to do it because that's what you have to do.
What did you go to school for?
Psychology.
Okay.
Which, of course, helped me as well in what I'm doing now.
Definitely. Well, it's funny because when I first met you, you didn't even have all the equipment to like produce a record, and that was in September.
Yeah.
And I just remember you being in your room for like 10 hours, not even joking, maybe longer, and just singing. Like, all the roommates in the house were like, we haven't seen Sam in like 2 or 3 days, where is she? And she's just upstairs, not taking any breaks, just singing, just loving what you were doing.
And I gotta say, that was one of the most important, because I don't have that time right now to do what I was doing then.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that, I mean, the time will come where that happens again, but it comes in waves of being able to do that, of having whatever time to spare to do that. And that started when I moved to San Francisco in June. And from then to living with you guys, that entire time was like, I see it as when people are younger and trying to pursue music, and it's like a very slow moving thing, like, okay, like a little bit this year. That to me condensed years worth of like realizing what I wanted, cultivating the bravery to do it, the passion to do it, because it was all there. And now that I'm older, it's like I didn't need like those here and there, like, oh, I think. It's like, no, like I know now. Were
you second guessing yourself a lot through like high school and college? Is that maybe why you didn't want to jump into it, or you just really weren't even thinking about it?
It was a suppressed thing that I
came out at the right moment.
It always hurt to think about, and I just suppressed it because I figured that's not how life works, because it's hard to pursue art these days. Like, it's not looked upon fondly.
So what happened? Like, how did you find yourself? How did you get on this track and stay so motivated and clear, like, this is what I want to do and nothing else matters? Like, what got you on that track?
Having absolutely getting to a low point, because you read The Power of the Now.
Yes. That book changed my life.
Yeah. So Eckhart talks about how, like, suffering induces moments like this of realization. So I was in a romantic relationship that ended. I moved back home from California, where I was living for 4 years, came back living in New Jersey, had no idea what I was going to do, just graduated college, and I just fell into a really, really bad place. I read that book. It took a while for it to hit me, which I think that type of book does sometimes. Like, either you're in the right place or you start reading it and you're like,
interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then actually last April, I went to a workshop. It was a spiritual retreat workshop. And that point, something hit me, something came over me, and I was like, what am I doing? And then I uploaded a song of me singing a little really short clip on Facebook. And I made the caption saying, I think it's time for me to pretend I'm not a singer. And I put that on Facebook, and then I had a huge, like, a lot of feedback saying, like, what? I had no idea, or like, yeah. Oh my God, what? Why? And then I connected with a few people, music producers, and then that, like, catapulted me to make the decision to move to San Francisco. Ever since then, and I was supposed to only be in San Francisco for 2 months. And I've been in California since June. So it was that moment in April.
So you get your beats from other people, right?
Yes.
So you had to really put yourself out there. How did that process work?
That was always the part that I was like, God, like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure it out.
Do you notice that, like, things strangely start to fall in place? Like,
oh, God,
you have, like, the overall vision. You don't know how you're going to do it. But even if you stay focused, like, things just keep falling into place. Like, is that how that kind of happened?
Yes. You have to force yourself to believe.
Yeah.
And at first, that's hard because you're going from a frequency of non-belief to belief, and you can't do that in one step. So you have to start, like, kind of coercing yourself into being like, okay, like, I think that things are going to get better for me. And then, you know, actually, like, I'm starting to actually feel better. Like, you have to be really aware of it. And you have to also be accepting of not knowing how it's going to happen, because I would have never known. How can I connect with all these people? Even I've lived in LA for maybe 2.5 months. Just the people that I've met so far.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's like this, it's just crossing paths with people, and it's happening because I know that it's possible, and I believe that it's possible, and I'm aware that it's happening. Because it's happening all the time to everyone.
Oh, absolutely. And people just dismiss it, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you change your thinking to start believing, like, from going to such a dark place to reprogramming your mind to say, I can do this? What were some of the steps you took to do that?
I was very strict about it. I meditated every morning. And at first, that's not easy because you're so used to thinking constantly. And you're just like, oh, I can't do this, whatever. But you have to stick through that phase, because you can't get past that phase if you don't stick through it. I just started seeing myself from a witnessing perspective. Still, you can't not feel, like, the feelings that those terrible feelings.
Yeah.
Like, you can't feel it one day and then not the next. You have to start witnessing yourself feeling them. And I have a friend right now who I'm talking through this part, because the first most important part is getting to the point that you've had it. I'm done. I want to change. If you don't get to that point, then you're just going to keep, it's going to go and go and go. And then once you get to that point, then you have to know that you can't change the way your brain has been formed in this pattern. You can't change that overnight. So you have to start witnessing it happen by noticing.
Definitely a long process.
It is. The most difficult part is the beginning, because now I'm on a momentum where it's like, okay, I know. I don't want to say I don't care, because that's not what it is, but it's like things don't faze me as much because I'm on this level of, like, you can't break through it. But that's because it's practiced.
I don't think there's anybody in this world that could get inside your head. I really don't. Like, well, I mean, for the most part, like, you are just unfazed by what people have to say, and you're just comfortable with yourself, and, like, you completely own it. You own exactly who you are with, like, the way you sing, the way you dress. If somebody doesn't like that, that's on them. That's not on you.
And that's a practice. That's in one of my songs. It's in, like, the intro to what will be on the project. I forget the lines, but it's like, it talks about how people think that I was born like this. That's a practice. Like, people forget that I had been depressed in my life, that I had gone through periods of time where I didn't leave my house because I was crying all day. Like, that happened. But anyone, literally anyone, can teach themselves to flow into, and it's hard at first, I get it, but you have to trust before it happens. You have to. Right,
and it's all momentum too. You start with a little bit, then the ball just starts rolling, and you just can't stop it.
I've been to seminars, so many seminars, where people would talk about how they feel this, what I feel now, which is that they're on this level where nothing can break them. And I'd listen to it and I'd be like, really? Like, how? How do you feel like that? Like, I get it. Like, I'm like a pretty happy person, but how do you feel like nothing can stop you? You just have to practice.
Yeah, and that's you investing in yourself, too.
Yes.
Like, you went to those seminars.
Yes.
You wanted to get better. You had enough.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. Like, it's almost like you got to burn all your bridges. There's no plan B because it takes away from plan A. It's just like you have to go all in. And that's what you did, which is pretty amazing. So what kind of music are you into? If you had to genre the album, what would you say it is?
This album, probably I would branch it under R&B. It's very new type of, you know, how these days people put different genres together. There's a lot of hip hop in it.
Would you categorize as Bay Area music or no?
The song that I just released today, I think that song will do best in the Bay Area because the producer is from the Bay Area and it has that type of sound. Everything else, I swear it's all different. Like, because the producers are all different. There are actually two people who are heavily in the electronic music scene. So they have their little edge of electronic, even though they're writing for a singer.
Right.
You can hear it. There's a lot of 808s, a lot of bass.
How does it even work with, like, putting out an album? Because you have so many people involved.
Yeah.
How does that even work? Like, is it on iTunes? Is it just released to the public? Like, what is it?
So, right now, the single that I released today is on SoundCloud and YouTube, but it will be on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and all that. Just waiting for a few things to get past, and within the next few weeks, that will be. The album will be distributed under all those platforms too, so long as they all pass the test of no samples or anything, which there aren't. And yeah, undoubtedly they will be on SoundCloud and YouTube maybe before they're on other platforms, just because it takes some time for those to get licensed and all that. But it's going to be free on SoundCloud and it's going to be on Spotify and iTunes 100%.
Do you have anybody featured on it, or is it just you on the whole album? Besides, like, the different producers?
From what I believe I'm going to put into it, it's going to be just me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm assuming if you have all those different producers on it, every song must be unique in itself, right?
Every song is completely different.
I like that.
It's crazy, yeah. And I mean, one of them was produced by my friend. Her name is Jenny, and her name is Strange Clouds, her production name. And that song is like completely, it's so electronic. Yeah. You know Alina Baraz?
No, I don't.
No, you would if I played it right now. It's a song, So You Say You Wanna Get Away. You know what I'm talking about? You do, I know you do. No, you're, after this you're going to listen to it and you're going to be mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very electronic. Because a lot of the stuff I do, like, is not low-key at all.
Shaking the whole house.
Yeah. Everything. See, my life is based around bass. So if it's going to be bass music that comes from... And that's interesting because I just thought of my dad when I said that. And I was like, you know, that's definitely why.
Yeah,
definitely why.
Definitely. Yeah.
So whether it's an electronic musician who incorporates bass music and it turns into an electronic music sounding instrumental, or just a regular hip-hop instrumental. I just posted something about how a grand piano and an 808 bass combination, nothing can come close to that, for me at least.
Yeah, that's it for you?
For me.
Yeah, so I know you love the music and everything. That's probably your number one passion. But you also do, like, I've noticed a lot of people reach out to you for, like, just because of where you've been and where you're at now. And, like, I've noticed you do, like, counseling people almost, like, just out of the goodness of your heart, not as a profession or anything. Have you still been doing that, or? Yeah,
I open myself up for people to ask me questions, and I don't judge. And I'm a very good listener. And sometimes all people need is someone to listen to them. And
definitely,
I love giving my perspective, but I think it's more of just someone being there to listen, because not a lot of people are down to listen these days.
So many people just listen just to respond.
Exactly.
Like, they already know what they're going to say next. And, well, I mean, everybody's guilty of it, but... Yeah,
of course.
But when you change your perspective, just listen just to actually hear what the other person has to say. Like, people can talk forever. If you just nod they'll get it all out in like 45 minutes, and all you did was nod.
Exactly.
And that was a world of wonder to them.
And it was, because you need that. You need someone that actually has an open heart, because when you're listening from that point of view, that's not you as a human listening. That's you as like a soul listening.
Right. So I've been asked this question a couple times, like, how do you find yourself? Like, how do you do that? And I don't think there's a great answer. Like, there's not one answer where you can just tell somebody, oh, this is how you do it. I think it's only, like, based on what your experience was. But if someone did ask you that, what would be your best advice for them on, like, how to just get in touch with who you really are? It's not an easy question.
It's not an easy question, because I believe that some people are so deeply ruled by their egos that they would hear the advice and it wouldn't even click. So if you've gotten past that stage of at least being able to know that there's another way, I know a lot of people who know that there's another way to be.
Right.
But they don't go with it. And that's a stage that you can find yourself from that point on. If you've not reached that point yet and you're still in this just flow of just being hit back and forth by whatever life gives you, not at all saying, no, this is what I want from life.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because you're going to find yourself eventually. But you first have to get to the point of at least having some awareness. And I think from there, it's going to change for each person. But you just have to, as often as you possibly can, keep tabs on how you react to things, on just trying to be aware as often as possible. And even I do this sometimes. Like, I started when I was walking down the street, I would literally in my head just be like, follow the flow of walking. Like, okay, I'm like walk, just so that I know, like, when I'm doing that, like, that means I'm aware of what I'm doing. Because you could easily, if you're walking down the street, be lost in your mind. And at that point, when you're lost in your mind, you're not even alive. You're in a thinking mind. You're not actually alive. So, and obviously, I mean, Eckhart Tolle is everything to me. Like, him talking about he'll talk about things that we do, and you might think that you're so enlightened, yet he'll be like, what about when you wake up in the morning, you're brushing your teeth? Like, are you thinking of other stuff, or are you actually paying attention to, like,
being present in everything that you do? Yeah.
Exactly. And that to me is people trying to manifest things for themselves.
That is so real.
And that is really a great thing, of trying to manifest something for yourself by changing your thought process. And I think that might be the stage that you have to get through before you get to the point of wanting to be present. Because if you're being fully present, then you're not trying to manifest anything. You're accepting life as it comes, and you're really becoming the open vessel for the universe to walk through you.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to make things happen. And I think that is what changed my life, is making the decision to, instead of trying to make things happen for me, I accepted that I was here for a reason. And as often as I stay present, the more often I stay present, the more often the universe can instruct me and bring me to do what it meant for me to do, rather than me, little me, trying to force whatever I want to happen.
Right.
So I'm just open for whatever, as often as possible. That's what makes things happen.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, too, like, your gut instinct, I feel like that really never shuts off. Like, you could feel, like, on a daily basis from right there if something's right or something's wrong. And I feel like a lot of people talk themselves out of that.
Yes, I agree.
They can feel it. They just shut it off. And then things just get worse.
Their mind comes in.
Yeah, their mind controls. And I personally shut that feeling off for a while. And I stopped doing it. I try to go with that feeling as often as I can. And if even to this day, I'll shut it off for a couple days. And I'll just have a bad week, because I know that's not intuitively what I'm meant to do. And it really messes up my whole week when I didn't do that a couple years ago. I just started recently doing that, and a lot of your problems might be solved just from following that gut instinct alone.
100% agree. And it's one of those things where when you have society telling you, or whatever, people around you telling you, like, this is what you do, blah, 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 that interferes with your intuition. And the entire process here is learning to trust your intuition and stop listening to whatever's coming at you from the external. Because it's not going to stop. Definitely. People are not going to stop telling you.
No, it doesn't. Never stops, yeah. So where would you like this music to go for you? Where do you see it going for you? What would you like to accomplish?
That's such a hard question to answer, too.
Right. And you just started on this great journey too.
Well, first of all, I want to bring like a feminine aspect to this scene because it's dominated.
Which scene?
I'd say the hip hop R&B music scene.
Right.
It is dominated by the male, and it's getting more straying away from the feminine energy. And it's not, I don't have a problem with, like, at all, obviously, but I think there needs to be a woman who is able to show that she is just as strong and is able to do that same type of music, but I'm a woman.
Right.
That's one of the things. I also want to talk about this type of stuff and have it on larger and larger scales so that people know that they can make a change for themselves.
Right. And I think that was just like a really bad question I just asked you, because I personally think you're not even worried about the big overall like picture. You're definitely just going with it. You're enjoying it.
But, you know, it's hard because that's a good question to ask someone, and most people have those aspirations, and that's fine. Right. And that's a conditioning of society, is to have like goals to reach for. And I'm trying to uncondition myself as much as possible. So of course I have like, I want people to hear my music and I want people to like it. I can't not feel that way. I can't not want to help people. I can't not want to talk about this type of stuff and hope that people hear it and say, damn, like, she did that. Like, I hope I can do that too. And I know I can. But at the same time, I try as often as possible, when I get to that point of being like, future, I like bring myself back and I'm like, all right, I'm here.
Definitely, yeah. Well, yeah, because I remember asking somebody a couple years ago, oh, like, what do you want to do? And the kid literally told me, I want to open up a gym and have 200 locations and have it across the whole country. And I'm like, do you know how to run one? Like, do you know how to, like, what the blueprint for, I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself. Like, think big, but start small. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just like way, way ahead of himself, but he's just being ambitious. Like, he was just very excited about it. But I think some people might get a little too carried away with that end result, when you got to enjoy the process of just owning one, starting that, growing that, putting all your love and focus into that, and then watch it grow, rather than being like, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. Like, just let it grow. Yeah,
that's what life is. And once you get to where you want to be, you're going to want something. It's a never-ending thing. So enjoy where you are now.
Definitely.
And again and again and again and again. And you're going to get everything that you want. I promise. You're going to get everything that you want if you can just keep yourself here, focused here.
Do you write things down? Do you like that you want? Or are you just more of a...
I used to. I don't anymore, because I don't really know what I want, honestly. And I really don't. I know what makes me feel good. I know that when I listen to music, nothing can compare to that feeling. But I don't know what I want, really.
But at the same time, you don't know what you want, but you're doing all this incredible, like, you're putting out an album, you're doing all this good stuff. So
that's how it works.
So where can people find this album?
The album is called I Do What I Want. And
love that. Perfect for you.
Yeah. The prospective date is next month. Right now, Consider This Over is the first single, and it is on SoundCloud and YouTube right now. I actually put it up.
So if you went on SoundCloud, you just type in
Samantha Leah, Consider This Over. It's on there right now. It's also on YouTube, and the rest of the album will be out in, I'm hoping, a month. Definitely sometime in April. Can't see it being any further from that. Everything's done, just it's being finished. So,
well, congratulations. You worked so hard on that. I saw it firsthand. Honestly, I've never seen anybody work so hard on one thing, like up close like that. That was unreal.
It's funny because when you say that, I'm like, really? Because I didn't look at it as that.
You don't even realize, like, you're up in your room, like, having the time of your life for 10 hours just singing. Like, you don't look at it as like, oh, this is, like, I need to be doing this. You're having fun with it. And that's why I think it's going to be so good, because you put all the love into it, and you just love what you're doing.
Yeah, writing to me, there's nothing that can compare writing. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Sam.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And enjoy your birthday. What are you doing tonight?
I'm actually going out with like 3-4 of my friends. Actually, the bar that I work at, I told them that we were all coming in, and they're going to let me play my music. So, and it's in Hollywood, so it should be fun.
Nice. No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is that is that the first time you're going to hear yourself with hundreds of people around, a lot of people?
Currently, yeah. My own stuff, yes. I've done shows. I've performed shows, but not my own music when I did musical theater. But hearing my own voice, yes, that's going to be the first time. Yeah, it's going to be funny.
That's exciting. That's great. All right. Well, have fun, and you are more than welcome to come back anytime, and we'll talk about whatever.
Yeah, I would love to.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. My private practice is located in New Jersey at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. If you have any additional questions about today's podcast, other episodes, or any questions about Blair Upper Cervical Chiropractic in general, feel free to visit my website at drkevinpecca.com or subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dr. Kevin Pecca. Hope you enjoyed the show. Cheers.